Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo, with your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you very much, as always, for watching, for listening, for following, for subscribing. I appreciate y'all very much. This is our Friday episode, and I don't know if you could hear it on the audio side or see it on the video side. Not in my studio today. We are at a different studio. We are actually recording this live from the headquarters at 26 Shirts, which means I am joined by the founder of 26 Shirts, co-founder, BillsMafia, longtime buddy of mine, been on the show many times, but it's been a minute, man. Reid, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
It's awesome to be here. I'm doing great. Appreciate the invite. Live from 26 Shirts. Such a big deal.
I tell you what, man, we go back enough doing this show. I'm not even talking about just being friends. I'm just talking about doing this show that I actually remember, and I was still living in Florida, coming to 26 Shirts when you guys were on Main Street. Mm-hmm. And you and I recorded a handful of episodes there, actually. That was audio only. That was before the video age of Talking Buffalo. We sat down there, and it was a lot of fun, and I liked it there very much. This is like next level, though. So I've been here before. You weren't here, though. I came, I actually bought a hat and a shirt. Your wife was here, and I got a quick little glance around, but I really didn't have time to really dig in and look at everything. And bro, the digs here are really cool, man.
Yeah, thanks. Unolan took really good care of us when we moved into this space. We had to, do a little bit of demo work. There was a big build out in the office area that was just not constructive to like collaborative, team stuff. But they let us bring somebody in and took that out and made this big wide open space. And we have a warehouse. It's a whole grown up operation now.
How long ago? So how long have you been here now?
March of 2023. So a little over a year.
Just talk about like the process of putting together. And by the way, we're going to talk a little bit of Buffalo Bills, but I also want to talk about your experience last year being Fan of the Year. I've never had an opportunity to kind of get some insight. So I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit with that. We'll talk maybe a little bit of Buffalo Bills as well. And also Mafia Con, which is a big reason why I'm here today. A new event coming up next month that I'm going to get some information from you about. But kind of let's start here talking about like this place, just the process. What was it like going from Main Street and moving out here to Kenmore? Like, what was that process like for you?
Yeah. So anybody who has been to our Tri-Main location, knows that it's a great building, great setup, great team they have there hosting all these different businesses and everything. But it was just, it was a journey to get to our space. So you had to park across the street, find us in this giant building. And we had some people who would drive all the way from an outer suburb and say, I got into the building, I couldn't find you, I went home. I'm like, geez, you went through all that? You couldn't just find us in the directory? But so that Matt and the team over there was always really great to us, but we had just outgrown the space that we needed. So honestly, since 2020, we've been looking for a new space. During that summer, you think, oh, there are going to be some business openings, some real estate openings, just because of 2020, you don't know what's going on. And so we've been we were passively looking for several years, and then towards the end of 2022, I got a corporate real estate agent to help me scout places and everything, and saw this space, didn't love it, but it was in the neighborhood of where I was looking for and everything. I liked it, but I loved the warehouse. I loved everything except, like I mentioned, that build out that we had.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So, once we were able to work with Unolan a little bit, and they were very accommodating for what we wanted out of the space, we were able to, get it all together. And then we moved here just ahead of St. Patrick's Day last year.
Talk about the process of decorating in here, because it's pretty cool to walk in there. You got a couple chairs, nice couch, the desk for your employees and everything. A lot of cool memorabilia up in there. Then we're going to get, again, on the audio side, you probably what the hell are you talking about? On the video side, you could see it. I'm going to ask you about these specific rooms in a second, and kind of get into that part of the whole 26 Shirts operation. But just terms out there, like the lobby, the greeting area, shit looks really cool, man.
Oh,
I did not know it was. I should have known that it was going to look dope, but it really does, man. It looks dope. Tell people about it a little bit, like the process.
Yeah.
Who's in charge of decorating out there? Was it you?
No, my wife is really good at that
That's
stuff.
what I
Like,
was.
if I did it, would all be on like one wall, all next to it. But over the past, lifetime, I've accumulated all kinds of different, memorabilia
Mhm.
and things. And, I have a little 1,400 square foot house in Kenmore. I don't have this, like, I can devote a wing to like memorabilia. I'm not even a big memorabilia guy, but I've
Sure.
accumulated enough. So, when we moved in here, we started with how do we want to do the desks and how are we going to set up I wanted it to be a very collaborative space. Everybody's in the same room except for Bob, our inventory manager, who's in the warehouse because he's shipping stuff all day. But everybody's in the same space, and I wanted it to be something where we all are always working together.
Yeah.
And so we put all the desks and we figured out the correct arrangement for all of that. And then, my wife has a great eye for just like, maybe most people do. I don't want to like. I'll give her credit, but like maybe most people are able to like.
Maybe it's just you. Maybe you're the problem.
I'm probably the problem. I'm most definitely like, I'm not good at that stuff. But yeah. So we had a bunch of left turn posters from over the years. Greg and his wife, they do an amazing job with that. So we and so every year, because we had contributed artwork or done whatever, I had like the whole season in the these manila folders. And so we actually I laid them all out. And for each employee space, I'm like, pick a few that you want. We'll hang them up in the space. So everybody's desk area has a couple of the different left turn posters from over the years.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is a really nice touch. And then everybody else has like their own stuff that they add to it as well too. So it really fills in the space. I joke that it's a really large man cave is what the office is.
Yeah.
The far wall, you have Stephanie and Leanne, and they have a sign that says Babe Cave. So, but yeah, no, it's great. I just wanted everything to be an expression of, who we are as a company, who we are as individuals. And I mean, we're we do a lot of sportswear in Buffalo. We wanted to make it look that way.
I'll tell you this too. So I come in here, and again, I obviously knew about there'd be a warehouse and figured there'd be some kind of nice, greening area and stuff. But what kind of speaks to like the growth of 26 Shirts as a brand, I think something I had no idea. Even when I just walked in here today to record this with you, I'm like, all right, I'll come in. We're probably going to sit at your desk out there where you work, or, I knew you'd have a couple chairs. Maybe we sit there. What I didn't know is that you pretty much have now these dedicated, a couple of them actually, media rooms for podcasts, for TV projects. I'm sure people come in and do stuff. If you're watching us on the video side, you could actually see there's a couple nice mics there, which we're not using. And you got a really cool green screen for people who have, the creativity or the ability to put something cool behind it, which I do not. So on the video side, you are watching a literal green screen with us. But I feel like it speaks to the growth of your brand a little bit, that you are also, you're not just selling shirts anymore. And obviously the premise will always be the same, helping families out in need and stuff like that with some of the proceeds from the shirts. But just being able to do media stuff and having rooms that are dedicated in your property, in your office space for that kind of speaks volumes about how 26 Shirts has grown.
Yeah. I never thought about it that way. Yeah. It's, over the past 10 plus years, obviously everybody's drawers fill up, and, we've introduced new products and, that bear the same logos usually as what's on the shirts, but
Sure.
But just not even in like the physical product space, but just in media in general. We have a really creative team, and we have ideas for reels, and we have ideas for these different videos and stuff. And Stephanie does a great job coming up with the little kitschy reels and stuff that we put out now and then. And during the season, we do the weather on the 26s, which Andrew, former television weatherman,
yeah, I love that. Actually,
he does a great job. Basically saying what it's gonna be like for the football game that weekend. And then we do a funny little skit beforehand, which we spend zero time planning. We just sit down, we start goofing off. We'll goof off for a little while, and Andrew will cherry pick the best part and make that the intro. We just launched our own podcast as well too. We've done a couple episodes.
Sure.
We did Zach from Trainwreck, who actually helped us set up this space in terms of when we knew we wanted to start doing dedicated.
He's an ambitious kid, man.
Awesome.
A young man. I shouldn't say kid. He's a man. He's a grown ass man.
He's a grown
ambitious dude, man. I've always respected about that about him and about Trainwreck Sports is they are very ambitious. They grind. They get to as many things as they possibly can, and I've always kind of respected that about them. And plus, again, people want to come here and do some stuff with you. Whether I know you never, I mean, we've talked many times before on the show and in just life, but you never sought out any publicity or notoriety or stuff like that. But whether you like it or not, it certainly happened. You've gotten to, the level where people want to do stuff with you. And I'm sure you get recognized a lot more now too when you go out, whether it's a supermarket or just whatever events. It's still, I've kind of asked you this before. I'll ask you again. Like, is it something that you kind of gotten used to, or is it something that still feels a little bit weird to you? Like, let's just say Dell and I are going to go get some wings at Mooney's or something up the road on Military Road, and hey, it's Del Reid, 26 shirts, BillsMafia. The kind of still get a little weird. Do you still?
It's a little weird, but I've learned that it's still weird. It'll always be weird, but I've learned to handle it better, a little more, normally, because people sometimes will like ask to get a picture with you, which is awesome if you want to. It's great.
Sure.
I used to be like, sure, you really, so now I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. Little things like that. So, just learning to not make it weird for them. You know what I mean? Because I think that's what I would do sometimes. But it's obviously this was never part of the plan. I'm not comfortable even doing stuff like this. It's not really I don't like it. I mean, I like it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't seek this out.
Right.
I've grown comfortable in front of the camera. I've grown comfortable with a microphone in my face.
You get used to it, don't you? To some extent, on some levels you do.
Yeah. And, it's cool. And it's, maybe it sounds a little pretentious to say honor, but it's an honor for people to, want to take a moment out of their day and say hello to you and everything. So I always, make sure that, I'm, giving them valid time,
Yeah. How much has just everything changed? You personally, the business, the brand, everything. Again, we launched this in 2013, so we're a little more than a decade into this now. This adventure of yours, I'm sure in your wildest dreams, I know in your wildest dreams, you never thought that it would grow to where it's at right now. Just kind of talk about like we're here in the year 2024, as opposed to Del Reid's mindset back in 2013.
Yeah, it's weird. Like this was a 1-year project that is now in its 11th year. But the goal has always been just to do as much good as possible with, the platform that I've stumbled into, the audience that has not, kind of landed in my lap, for lack of a better term. Just want to continue to turn out stuff that people love, that give back to fellow fans. And we've, grown it out where we're able to do more shirts than, 26 a year. It's funny. We do more than 26 shirts and we do more than shirts. So the name means absolutely nothing. But we're too far down. Branding, right? Branding. So, but yeah, no, just the opportunity to give people something that they hopefully love, and in a way that is actually supporting people they maybe love or know or don't know or whatever. It's just a huge responsibility, because it's easy to burn out on this stuff, like creatively, but we got to bring it every Monday and Wednesday. We do Wednesday shirts now and then sometimes another shirt, but at least every Monday is our primary shirt we launch for a beneficiary. Every Monday we got to bring it, because we've got like a 7-8 month wait list right now. So somebody's going to wait for 8 months for their Monday to roll around. We can't mail it in on a given Monday. We got to make sure we bring it, and it's the best that we can do.
How stressful could it get at times? Because, look, anyone who runs a business is stressful for them no matter what they do. And in your case, like you said, there's people who depend, on receiving ultimately whatever help that they can end up getting through sales of a shirt and stuff like that. Does that add to you a little bit of the stress and the pressure?
Yeah, frankly, it does. After a decade, I learned how to handle it and in some ways compartmentalize it and have a better perspective. It used to really beat me up early on if we had a shirt and it, flopped or didn't do well. But I do my best to manage expectations for the families and say, hey, listen, we're going to do the absolute best we can. But at the end of the day, the market decides, what's going to sell and what doesn't sell. But we'll do everything we can. We'll launch sometimes another shirt just to, if a shirt's not doing well, we really want to make it different. We always want to make a difference. We want to make a difference. So we'll launch another design later in the week. We always do one on Monday, one on Wednesday, but sometimes we'll do a third shirt just to give that family one more kick at the can.
Sure.
Because that's why we exist. and there's stressful seasons, and there's some seasons that go by where it's like, man, it feels like everything we put out people love, and then there's some where it's like, man, we can't get a solid campaign if our life depended on it. So it's just this up and down flow, and you're kind of just doing your best with it, and that's all we can do is just do our best and see where it lands.
How tough is it when you come up with something collectively, collaboratively, no matter who it is who designs it, to have a predictor on how it's going to do? Like, I'll give you an example. Like with this podcast, for an example, there's so many times where I'm like, man, I got a really good guest. The topic was tight, man. A really good conversation. I can't wait for people to dive into this. And then you go and you look at the analytics a couple days later, flop, and then there'll be some episodes where I'm like, oh shit, man, I was supposed to do a show with Dell, but something happened with Dell and now Dell can't make it. And I got to get a show out tomorrow. So I'm just going to do something solo. I'm going to pick one or two generic topics and just talk. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of mailed that in. It's not really a good show. And then 2-3 days later, the numbers like, bam, great show. Yep. Looks great. The analytics look great. It's like, as long as you've been doing this, and I'm sure there's been, I should ask you, I'm sure you've had a lot of cool designs. You're like, oh man, we're going to absolutely crush this one. And then it don't do as well. And then there's some you're like, I don't know, man. I kind of like this. I mean, they're all for a good purpose. I'm comparing a podcast to you making a difference in people's lives, which is ridiculous. But the premise is kind of the same, where you really can't predict how things are going to do sometimes. You still at that point right now, even after all these years, where you don't know sometimes how things are going to turn out when you put a campaign out?
Yeah, we have a joke that the more confident we are before a design launches, it's a kiss of death. If we're like this shirt is going to blow up, people are going to love this design. Fast forward 13 days, we're like, man, nobody bought that shirt. But there's other stuff, like exactly how you said it, like, you like kind of like to have a shirt, like, here's our design. I hope you like it. Yeah. And it'll explode. So I always joke how we've been doing this for as long as we have, and we have no idea what we're doing. We don't know what people want. We just throw as many darts at the board as possible, and we try to put out something that we think is cool. And sometimes not everybody in the office thinks it's cool. Like some people are like, I don't know. And then someone else will be like, no, we have to do this. And it'll do well. Or maybe sometimes we get to say, I told you so. But like, we have enough different opinions and styles at 26 shirts where we're able to, put out enough different designs where I think we kind of hit every little demographic within, fandom. But to sum it up, we have no idea what we're doing.
It's just really hard to predict things. Like talk about Buffalo. The only thing that's predictable is I'll have Joe from Queens on, and people are going to call him a hater, which
it's because Joe's a hater.
You're
a hater, dude. You're a hater.
But in all seriousness to it, again, comparing a podcast to something that matters in people's lives is kind of funny. But what's not funny is, and we've talked about this before, behind every campaign, there's a deeper story to it beyond just what the shirt says. Again, it's somebody is going through something, and you feel, I mean, I know you kind of feel like an obligation to help them as best as you realistically can. And you kind of get an attachment to some. I would imagine maybe some hit you a little harder than others. Again, years later, you've been doing this for a long time, but I'm sure there's still some cases, some stories, some people that 26 Shirts is trying to help out that you really feel that deep emotional connection to, even all these years later.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an honor when I think of little girl Olivia, who was like 9 years ago now. We did a shirt for her, and her parents invited me to her last chemo treatment party.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so they're celebrating something. And I mean, dude, I'm just a guy selling t-shirts, tweeting about the Bills, and they're like, hey, we want you to come. And so it was an honor to be able to do that. And so there's some families that you just, for whatever reason, you just connect with, more deeply than others. But every family we help is somebody who's a worthy family. We want to do our best. And it does get to the point sometimes where you start to, I mentioned it a few moments ago, but like you do start to really feel the pressure to want to help this family. And especially when somebody's like, I mean, they're all tough situations, but some situations just break your heart. And you're like, oh, what can we do? To help this family, more. So it's this weird juggling because we have a lot of fun here at the office, and that's kind of like almost mandated. We have to have fun.
Yeah.
Because on our why is somebody is in the worst moment of their lives. Some family's going through the worst experience they've ever gone through. And so we're trying to do what we can to raise money for them, but we have to not have fun doing it. But we have to have that. We have to have that balance because otherwise it can get real mopey, real fast. And the early years, I really struggled with that a lot. Like really getting hit hard with specific families. Like you're dealing with kids with cancer at half the time, and it's hard to. It's a lot to process.
Sure. I could only imagine, every case is important, like I said, and it's not even about saying which one is more important than the other, but every case, there's somebody out there who needs help. And I feel like if you approached it with that much pressure and that much stress, that it wouldn't take long for that to get to you to the point where you're not passionate, or I shouldn't say you're not passionate, but you're not enjoying what you're doing anymore, because that's all you're feeling is stress and, desperation to kind of help somebody. So kind of to your point, even though they're not fun situations that people find themselves in, the people that you're trying to help, you got to have a fun environment. You got to make people look forward to coming to work every day and doing what they can, not just to help other people, but quite frankly, just to be able to keep your own mindset right, your own sanity, probably even in some cases.
Yeah. I mean, certainly all those points. But at the end of the day, like there's if you're doing something with the purpose of helping somebody, it's okay to have fun doing it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like if we have like this, like I said before, like this mopey, serious undertone to everything we're doing, it's gonna reflect in what we're doing, and we want to make sure that we're celebrating the wins. We're celebrating we have an opportunity to help this family. What they're going through is awful, and we're praying for them, and they're doing everything we can. But we gotta make sure that we're bringing something that people are going to enjoy. And a lot of people that buy our shirts have no idea who the family is. And I thought it would. We put a survey at checkout a couple years ago, and I said, it says, "Why did you buy this shirt?" It says, "Be honest." And not as large of a percentage as I expected was the people like, "Oh, it was the cause." So a lot of people are engaging with us just because of the designs that we're doing. And so we have to make sure that we're doing this delicate balance of, here's our reason for doing it. This is the reason why we exist. But hey, this is a really cool shirt. Josh jumped over somebody again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like, go buy the shirt. It says shirt on it. You know what I mean? And it looks terrible. People want to buy a shirt that they can wear around because they might be doing it in part out of kindness of their heart, which is amazing. It's awesome, of course.
Yes.
But when I'm going to the club, or I'm going out to some bar with my friends, I want to say, "Oh, that's a cool shirt."
Yeah, exactly.
They're not thinking, "Hey, it's a cool shirt." How does Carly? I'm just throwing a name out there. I know you're helping Carly out. They're not thinking that part. They're just like, "Oh, that's a chill shirt, man. That's a that's a really cool shirt."
Yeah, to that point, if anybody's wearing our shirt to a club, I mean, that's
when you get to my age, you don't got to press the girls or the guys anymore. When you get to be our age, man, you're just we're married. We're just wear whatever makes us comfortable here.
Yeah, but no, we have fun doing it, and we want to. We have the audience, we have the platform. We want to give people stuff they love that's unique, that's not just another team logo on a shirt or anything like that. Not that that's wrong. We've all got tons of those shirts, but stuff that just expresses the fandom or an appreciation for what's going on with the team in a unique and different way. We want to provide that, and if we have the ability to do that, then we also have the ability to help people in the process. So let's just throw it all together.
I'm here at 26 Shirts with the owner, Reid. We're recording an episode here for Friday. Let's kind of switch gears for a second here because something brand new is coming. It's July 20th. It's called Mafia Con. I know very little about it other than I saw a graphic. So for people watching and listening, kind of let's get into that. What is Mafia Con? How did it start? What's going to be going on there?
Yeah, so it's an idea we've had for probably 2 or 3 years now, and every year it goes by too quickly. Like, oh, we didn't plan for it soon enough.
Who's we?
26 shirts.
Okay.
And shout out to Mike Sullivan. The Kick is Good on Twitter. He tweeted the name at me, or he texted me. How come you haven't done a Mafia Con yet?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! And Joe from Queens, he also has mentioned stuff like this in the past as
Sure.
well too, and others. But yeah, so we've been like toying around this idea for a couple years, and this was just finally the year we're just gonna do it. And it's not as it's a proof of concept. Let's put it that way. So this is our first time doing it. We want to make sure we go through all the machinations. We want to make sure that we're, able to go through the whole process. And okay, we did it. Now next year, let's do it bigger. So this is our first.
Yeah. You gotta have a bar. You're setting a bar this year. This is your first time doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're not setting up at the Buffalo Convention Center like, oh, we've taken over the whole floor and it's all BillsMafia stuff. No, this is a different. This is a new thing we're doing. We want to make sure we're doing it right. We're doing it at a scale that we can manage.
Mm-hmm.
And then next year we're going to build it out bigger. If it's a success, I think it will be.
Yeah.
But we'll build it out bigger. So we're really excited about it. It's at the Western New York Heroes Event Center on Delavan. And we're going to have player appearances courtesy of TSE. Can't say who yet, but
I know you can't say who, but you put out a tweezer that you have zero excitement about somebody. So we'll leave it at that. We'll let the sleuths at home watching figure out who that is.
Yeah. But it's funny how some people didn't. They just like, who? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not. Come on. And one of my
Naheem Hines, did they re-sign him?
One of my employees like, I didn't know what you meant. I'm like, come on, how did you not know? So, but we're gonna have player appearances there. We're gonna have local vendors. We're gonna have podcasters such as yourself. We're gonna have food trucks. Just a celebration of our fandom for this team, and I'm looking forward to it. I always joke when I do these things. I'm looking forward to it being over because that means we did it.
Yeah.
We're putting a lot of work into this, but we're really excited. This is long overdue for Buffalo fans. So we're just excited to bring this to the table, and hopefully people have fun, and it's something unique and different. And then the next week training camp begins, so it's like that last hurrah before all the news gets stressful.
Try to take people behind as much as you can. Take people behind like the scenes a little bit when you are putting something together. Like it's okay. So you've been thinking about it for a while. You've been talking about it, and you're like, "This is the year we're going to do it. This is our first year." Like you said, you're going to manage it, expectations and everything, and then you're going to figure things out, and then you'll build year by year and year by year. But right now, doing it the first time here, the first year, kind of take people behind the scenes a little bit of like the process of everything that goes on. A lot of times we go to a party or an event and you show up, you have a good time. You hopefully, if it's for a charity, raise some money or whatever. But behind the scenes, all the stuff that goes on to get it ready to put something on, there's a lot of work to it. Kind of talk about a lot of like some of the work and the process that's going on kind of like behind the scenes right now, getting ready to do something like this for the first time.
Yeah. This is something I am not an event planner. This is not my wheelhouse. But Stephanie, who's our operations manager, she's really good at this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We brought in Joe and Jolene Hanashetsky from Buffalo Motorama. They've been helping us put it together as well too. So, and everybody else here at 26 Church has a seat at the table in terms of how to do things. So, it's just a matter of like, okay, we're going to need this, we're going to need that. And that's what Joe has been a really good asset for. Like, you're going to need these kinds of insurance forms. You're going to need these kind of vendor applications. You're going to need all these different things that I don't know. I mean, I knew there was stuff I didn't know.
Right.
I'm learning what that stuff is now. So it's just a matter of, being able to plan out all the different little things. And that's what it is. It is different little things. I mean, big things, but you have to think through every type of presence that's going to be at the event. Is it going to be if it's super fans or players or vendors or food or drinks or all these different things. So I think I'm better to answer that question maybe in a couple months.
Yeah.
But I'm learning as I go here. I have a lot of confidence in our team that it's going to be great.
In terms of players, again, I understand why you're not ready to announce formally anybody yet, but as the event gets closer, do you anticipate being able to announce, some people that might be there?
Yeah, this is airing on Friday, right?
This is airing on
All
Friday.
right, so I imagine by Friday, people will be saying, "Why did they just say the names? It's already been announced." So in the next day or two, we're going to be able to start talking about it.
That's awesome, man.
Just
That's
want to
awesome.
make sure we have all our I's dotted and T's
Yeah,
crossed.
yeah,
We're
for
framing
sure.
it correctly.
For sure. And again, that is going to be Saturday, July 20th. I'll put a graphic up on the screen, put a link to because you do have a site up now, and I'll make sure I put that in the show notes. I'll have some more information about it. And you mentioned some podcasts too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm looking forward to listening to other people there as well. Should be a really a good turnout. Looking forward to it. Before we wrap up with a few minutes of Bills talk, at least anyway, I'd be remiss because again, this was last season, but however, I have not had you on the show last season, so I kind of want to get a little firsthand insight myself here. So you're the 2023 Buffalo Bills Fan of the Year. Let me start with a simple question. Like what was that like, that moment? Now I saw the clip. Obviously, you get put out into the field. Stevie Johnson's helping you surprise. Well, Stevie's a really good dude, man.
Yeah, I love it.
Obviously, you know that as well as anybody. But just talk about that moment when you found out that this was like real.
Yeah, it was surreal. It was one of those things where, is this happening? Is this happening? Is this happening? I kept thinking that over and over again. But yeah, so the Bills lied to me. They said they were having me come out to talk about the origins of BillsMafia and everything. And I was like, we already did this video, but okay, whatever. So they had me like talking through it. If you saw that video, like I'm explaining it, and all of a sudden they have me go out in the field. They say, okay, now run out on the field. I'm like, do what now? Like, and so I'm like, okay. So I run out on the field, and then Stevie throws me that pass, and of course, totally whiffed on that. And people are like, how did you not catch that? I'm like, listen, I didn't even know I was going out for a pass.
Yeah, in the moment,
in
the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in my head at that exact moment, and I remember thinking, that's all people are going to talk about once they post whatever video. I was right. That's all people talk about. But it was pretty cool. And I got to play catch with Stevie for probably like 10 or 15 minutes afterwards, just talking. And the Bills were filming that. And of course, none of that made it out of the video. Like, they'll drop one pass, whatever. But no, it was really cool. They made it really special. I mean, all the way, Stevie being part of the origin of BillsMafia, him pulling up his jersey and it said Fan of the Year. I mean, oh my gosh, it was really like, in terms of my Bills fandom, it was probably the most special moment I've had.
Sure.
Being able to call my wife there right there in the field and tell her the news, which is really cool because it was her idea to even apply for this and pursue it. Because I was like,
to nominate you.
Yeah, and I was like, don't do that. Come on, don't come on. But she's like, no, this is happening. And if you've ever met an Italian woman, like, you do not tell her no. So this is happening. So it was really cool. They made it special, and that entire trip, to the Super Bowl was just once in a lifetime.
I can only imagine again the thought process that goes on because there's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of Bills fans around the world. And there's only one Buffalo Bills Fan of the Year.
Yeah,
I almost feel like obviously a pinch me moment, but almost like weird to you that like of all these fans that are Bills fans for 2023 is me. I'm the Fan of the Year.
Yeah. And like you said, there's so many people that are deserving. I don't let it get to my head. Like I remember it was like that next Sunday walking up the seats in my section to sit down, surrounded by like 73,000 other fans who love the team just as much as I do.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, I think one of these people could have been Fan of the Year. Like, I'm not turning it down. But like, it's like, at the end of the day, like, you're not all that, it's just like
you got to keep yourself grounded and humbled to an extent. Cause
it's true though. It's true. It's like, there's so many Bills fans doing so many different things. Hopefully, we all live to be hundreds of years old and we can all get the chance to be a fan and everything, be Fan of the Year. It's a great experience. So many people deserve it. It was very humbling to be able to be that person. And it's something I will always treasure. And I'll always remember.
I can only imagine now. I feel like I've said I can only imagine like 8 times this podcast. So I'm keeping myself humble. I'm shitting the bed right now. But no, in all seriousness, you, Bree, Leslie, the co-founders of BillsMafia, it's been years now. And I'm sure you still probably get asked to this day, probably the number one question, I would imagine. It's got to be up there anyway. Tell us how Bills Mafia started. Like, how many would you estimate, like, between mainstream media people, local podcasters, content creators, just fans and stuff like that, how many times you've been probably have asked the same question? Does it kind of remind you, or you could kind of emphasize a little bit with athletes, famous athletes who probably get asked the same question in every interview? Like, what was this? What was that? They've been asked it so much they can say it in their sleep. Have you gotten to that point now where you feel like you've been asked the same couple questions so many times like that?
Well, my brain can turn off and I can tell you the entire story without having to think about it. But like, it's not annoying. Like, I get it, but it's, I don't know how many times it's been, definitely triple digits, but like, it's reached a point where I've done enough interviews over the phone in the office where Josh, our creative director, our longest tenured employee, he can recite the whole thing. There's like little quotes I don't realize, little phrases I don't realize I say it all the time. And he'll like tease me about it, and just little things just about the nuances of Twitter and just parts of the story that I guess I say the same thing every time. So, but yeah, I'll never be annoyed. I mean, holy cow! Like,
no, not annoyed, annoyed.
No, but like Bill's Mafia, how could I? This really cool thing, really cool accident that happened. I'm always happy to talk.
One of my favorite things that I've seen on a podcast in a while, I'm gonna give a shout out to my guy Sal Capaccio. He had an early episode of Sal's House. I mean, I love that concept when he, they would have people actually in his house, and he had you, Leslie, and Bree there all at the same time. Now, you guys have done interviews together before. I've seen plenty of Buffalo news stories and stuff like that, but that kind of setting, that kind of casual setting at Sal's house with Sal kind of interviewing, or not even interviewing, having a conversation with you guys was really cool to be able to see all three of you, with Sal just talking about the origins of Bills Mafia and just a bunch of other stuff, which I'm going to ask you a question about your boy Bree here in just a minute specifically. But that was a pretty cool moment, wasn't it? Anytime the three of you guys, you get to get together like that in that kind of setting, it's got to be pretty cool for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Bree and Leslie they're family.
Sure.
We've had. I mean, we've been through a lot of things together, a lot of discussions, a lot of we were friends before the whole Bills Mafia thing took off. So that, when Bills Mafia became like its thing, it kind of galvanized our friendships to a point now where I always joke around, like, if my kids were any younger than at the points when I met Bree and Leslie, they'd probably be like aunt and uncle or something like that, But no, they're just dear friends, brother, sister. I love them to death.
I do too. They're awesome. For different reasons. I love Leslie. She's just a sweetheart of a human being. I love Bree because, I love Bree for a lot of reasons. But on Twitter, and I think he gets as much joy out of getting under somebody's skin with a football take as he does seeing the Bills win a football game at times. He's a lot of fun. He's one of my favorite Twitter followers. He's one of my favorite people too. I like him a lot. But he is quick to take the antagonist point of view on a Twitter beef about the Bills. Like, he's a Bills fan. He, like, literally one of the co-founders of Bills Mafia. But if he senses that you're being a little bit too much of a homer when it comes to this football team, he's going to get at you, man.
Yeah, I would say that I have. It probably happens maybe twice a season. I get dragged into some kind of like Twitter conversation where Bree is going after like either some aspect of the team or whatever. And somebody will say, like, I can't believe you're one of the co-founders of, Bills Mafia at Del Reid. How do you do? What do you want me to do about it? He's his own person. He's his own person. And the funny thing is, I'm one of the biggest homers going. So half the time that he's, attacking some aspect of like, oh, I'm on the other side, but it doesn't, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just people people let him get under their skin. And at the end of the day, it's like, dude, it's Twitter. And even real life, it's sports. It's an opinion, if he thinks that, X player is better than this player on the Bills, and that's his opinion. Who cares?
I love that though. I honestly,
rational in his own way. Like he has his opinions. He has his thoughts.
And I honestly love that. And there's no wrong way to be a Bills fan. No. I mean, that's like the relationship that you and Bree have is probably like saying you could be a hardcore Democrat and a hardcore Republican with radical different views on how they think about politics are still very close. It's kind of like how you and Bree are. You admittedly are a homer.
Mhm.
Bree's a Bills fan. Certainly ain't a homer. You know what I mean? You would say he's kind of like Joe from Queens, the overly critical Bills fans. And they still a Bills fan, though, and it doesn't really affect your personal relationship.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like people, there's no one way to be a fan of anything.
Sure.
There's no you're not a real Bills fan if you don't blank, or you don't really love Star Wars if you think blank. You know what I mean? Like
right.
People like what they like, they think what they think. And at the end of the day, in a situation like with Bree specifically, the dude has one of the biggest hearts of anybody you're ever going to meet.
Mhm.
And just because you don't understand why he likes Lamar Jackson as much as he does, or whatever, it doesn't. He's not.
Lamar's as good as Josh. I love it. He's won 2 MVPs, so he's got a case. But yeah, sort of.
That's
sort of.
Let's go into a whole different. Let's talk about last year's MVP.
That's what? Oh,
let's talk about the MVP race last year. Come on.
Oh, I know.
Come on. All right. Sorry, I digress. But no, I love Bree. I love Leslie. At the end of the day, we're all different people with different opinions on different subjects, sports and non-sports, I'm sure. But we're all humans. We love each other. Like it's all good.
Whether you're a homer fan, whether you're an overly critical fan, you're still a fan. And for this offseason was one of change. And we'll find out in the coming months if that change is going to be for the better or not. We don't know right now. It's all speculation. But, to be a fan of the team and to lose Jordan Poyer and a Trey White and very likely Micah Hyde. That's not official, though, with Micah. Stephon Diggs getting traded, Mitch Morse, Gabe Davis, a lot of not just good players, but well-known players. In a lot of these cases, good people too. People like Micah Hyde, assuming, or Jordan Poyer, on a lot that they've done for this community. As a fan, putting the football part of it aside, because they may be better off with going younger and some of the other guys that they got. But just from a personal standpoint, especially somebody in your position who works with so many different people, it kind of sucks to lose that many core nucleus good people on a football team in one off season.
Yeah. So I have a couple different thoughts on this. One is I think about the New England Patriots. Granted, the Bills are not a Super Bowl year after year dynasty like they were, but you look at them from their first Super Bowl win to the year that Tom Brady played his last season with them. What was the one constant? Bill Belichick, Tom Brady.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. That's it, right? And so you have Sean McDermott, Josh Allen. I'm not saying somebody's going to hear that and be like, Reid equates. No,
they shouldn't, because I know that's not what you're trying to do. Exactly. I get it.
But there were so many players that came in and out of that organization over so many years, but there was a constant, there was one constant. So we're at the beginning of that now as Bills fans. We're learning what that's like. All these, great, piece players are leaving. But I mean, come on, as long as we have Josh Allen, we've got a chance at a Super Bowl, in my opinion. So it's just we're learning how that's going to work out. And, I think it'll be different. Like if the Bills get through this season and they win the division, make the playoffs, I'm here for a Super Bowl. I think that's a great lesson that we're all going to learn. It's like, wow, it really doesn't matter as long as Josh is under center. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that plays out over the next several years, but I'm not too concerned.
Look, when it comes and you use the Patriot way, you're right. But beyond personnel, the other constant with New England during those years they were a tough team. They were a team in whatever style of play. They had tough players and they had a winning culture. Now, again, the Bills have not reached the Super Bowl, so to compare them to the Patriots could be a little bit ridiculous, but the concept is the same. The Bills now for several years have been a tough football team that played good defense and they win. So they have that winning culture here. I don't think that leaves because a handful of good but aging players, and in some cases they just feel like they might be better off going in another direction on the football field. I was just talking about more like in the lines of like I said, in the case of a Jordan Poyer or Micah Hyde, especially those two guys, they've done a lot of good here in the Western community during their time here in Buffalo.
Yeah, no, excellent work, Micah Hyde with his Imagine for Youth Foundation, and Jordan with how he has supported all the different causes and even with the stuff he did with like substance abuse and everything.
Yeah,
just good people. And
it takes courage to speak when something like that, when you're going through an addiction like that and you're fighting something like that. And I do truly think that somebody, when you reach the status of a Jordan Poyer, that you are helping people by being brave enough to be public about it. I really do.
I agree with you 100%. But those types of people exist, outside the organization. And that's one thing I credit Brandon Bean and Sean McDermott for, is like they have a certain type of person they bring in. We always talk about like, oh, it seems like a process guy. I think that there's certain criteria that you have to hit on your personality, community awareness level for them to consider bringing you in on the team. And so they've done a really good job of, finding stand-up guys. And yes, there's exceptions, and I'm not going to name names, but we can think of players that, that have been on the team or that are on the team that maybe don't seem to like exactly line up.
Right.
But overall, they've done a really great job of bringing in like these top tier humans to play football in Buffalo.
I'm going to die on the hill, at least till the game starts, then I reserve the right to change my mind. And I'm kind of falling into the Del Reid Homer side of the Buffalo Bills right now, because I'm telling you, honestly, I still believe very much in this football team. I really do. And I can make arguments here. I won't do it today, but I can make an argument that I think the offense might be better by not having one person command a line share to targets, by younger ascending players, guys like Shakir, hopefully he's okay. James Cook, a lot of these guys are young. Dalton Kincaid, of course. They're going to get young Keon Coleman, number 0 for the Buffalo Bills. But I'm saying, a lot of guys are going to be young and ascending and still continuing to grow, and it might be a little more predictable on offense. And I know, and I trust Sean McDermott for one thing, that's to coach secondary well. And this is still a good defense with Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard. So I can make an argument. I think this team might be a little bit better, which kind of how I want to wrap up by asking you this. Does it bother you that the national media kind of like like the Bills right now? Like, I mean, granted, an exaggeration, but Emmanuel Acho saying not only is the Super Bowl window shut, but there's drywall over it. Then there's bars over the drywall. I mean, you get to a point where I'm sure he's saying that because analytics probably, producers tell him this is going to get you some clicks, some hate clicks and
that's what it is.
And follows and stuff. Does it bother you,
No, I don't care. Only thing I care about is them winning a Super Bowl. I don't care what people say leading up to it, what they say after it. I don't care what they say at halftime during the Super Bowl if the Bills are in it. Like, I don't care. Now, that said, I'll see something on Twitter and sometimes I'll put somebody on blast. But like,
yeah, it's fun.
But like, really, though, like fun. Some people get so worked up about it. Like, who cares what Joe Blow at ESPN or CBS Sports or wherever? Who cares what they think? That doesn't translate into points on the scoreboard.
Right.
And that's all we care about. That's all we should care about is how are they going to win this Super Bowl this year? How are we going to get there?
Right.
But all the other stuff is just window dressing, and I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't, like, people get so, like, they get so upset, and I don't. It's just it doesn't matter to me.
Well, I'll tell you what. Finding a topic
that said. If the Bills win the Super Bowl, I'm finding that Emmanuel Acho tweet, and I'm putting it on a shirt or something. But like,
it's got to be a shirt.
No doubt. But the window's closed, drywall, whatever.
Well, I'll tell you what. Finding a topic that Del Reid doesn't care about, and that's national perception, is the perfect way to end this episode. This was fun, man. I'm really impressed here. I knew I would be. I didn't know you'd have a podcast room, multiple podcast rooms here at 26 Shirts. That's really cool. This operation is really cool, man. It's really cool. I was always having you on this show. 26shirts.com. I can't, by the time this records, you might have another shirt out there. So we'll tell people to go there. I'll put a link in the show notes as well. And if Mafia Con, man, first one, get behind that. Everyone to get behind that. Spread the word here over the next month, little more than a month. I'm looking forward. I can't wait to to be a part of that. But anyway, man, it's always a great thrill having you on the show.
Yeah, no, pleasure. And I think I've told you this before, but way back in was it Buffalo Sports Daily.
Yeah.
I've always been an admirer of your work, man. You do a good job. You grind it out. And I'm just happy for all your success that you've had with this.
Appreciate that, man. I appreciate all you for watching and listening. Have a good weekend. Be back. Brand new episodes on Monday.